Hey there, Rebel. Today we're going to learn how to create a mockup for a print-on-demand product, all in Canva. So let's get started. Right now I am in Canva. If you wanted to get to this same image size that I have, you're going to go up to create a design. And when it comes to creating mock-up images, I prefer to go on the smaller side for pixel file size, just because like Etsy and Shopify, they prefer to have a smaller image just so your website or Etsy site loads a little bit quicker. And like Etsy, they only allow your image to be so big. So if you are creating a custom size design, you're going to create a canvas that is 2000 by 2000 pixels. So still a square, but just a little bit smaller than a design file. So once you create your canvas, what I like to do when I create mock-up images is directly get my products from either Printify or Printful or whatever print-on-demand supplier I am using, and literally download the pictures as I would find them on Printify. I'll show you how I do that. So if you go to Printify, once you are on your Printify and you have and see all of your products, if you go to your specific product image right here and you press on the plus or the enlarge magnifying glass and you click that, you will be able to see the mock-ups available that are generated by Printify, and you can switch between them. But I always just download this main image, flat, white background, plain image. I will right click, save image as, and then once I save that, I will upload it into my Canva uploads. And that's where I'm getting all of these mocked images from. So it's directly already on the product, ready for me to go. Some products, like these canvases, for example, the only image that has a plain white background, they are a little bit slanted. So I will take these images, I will download them onto, instead of doing this on my desktop, I do this on my iPad. So then when I download them, I can directly upload them into Procreate and basically Photoshop the image. So instead of it being slanted, it will be straight on facing me. You could also do the same thing by selecting one of these context pictures and saving it and then just cropping out the background. So you have a couple different options there. Now when it comes to other products like blankets or hoodies and stuff, you might have a little bit tougher time. So in that sense, I would suggest using a mock-up creator. Either like Placeit, or if you know your way around Procreate, creating your own mock-up images using Procreate might be your next best option. But for this example, I'm going to show you how I do it in Canva, because I feel like for flat images that are like home decor images, I feel like these look pretty legit. But you need to, know a little bit how to edit the photo so it looks realistic. And my favorite way to do that is by adding shadow elements. But before we do that, we need to find a background. So for this specific product, I want to find some type of an accent table to where my product is going to be like sitting on top of. So I searched accent table and elements right here, and then you're going to go to photos, and I'm really looking for something specific. Excuse me. I'm not sure if this search is gonna get me what I'm looking for. So I think, oh, coffee table. Sometimes Canva will pop up these like little blocks in between while you're searching for your elements, and I think coffee table will be our next best thing to search. It has to be almost straight on for me to do this for this specific product, so I'm looking for something that's going to be almost like a straight on kind of view, as well as not be too zoomed in, but zoomed in enough. And then if I do want to zoom in the image more, it's not going to be blurry or be too small of an area for my mock-up image. So I think I'm going to use this, which is actually the one that I've used previously. So this one, or some type of table or like a shelf or something would work, but I'm going to show you what this is going to look like and zoom in my canvas just a little bit. Okay, so that is the entirety of my canvas. We can see it on the whole screen. So what I'm going to do with this photo that we've selected from our Canva elements, I'm going to first crop it just a little bit, and then I'm going to enlarge it. So the majority of this image is the table. And right here where my mouse is the bottom of that image. I want the legs just to show a little bit, but not too much. Now, something to keep in mind when designing a mock-up image is you want it to look realistic, but you also want to have an artistic eye with the mock-up images that you're creating. So I always like to go by the photography rule of thirds. So right here in the center of my portrait, or this third in the middle, I have this very interesting leaf and branches going through. The top I don't really have anything except for a little bit more brick, and then on the bottom I have my table. I'm gonna put my element right here, so I think I might move this up just a little bit so it's more like in the center. Okay, so visually that looks cool. There's a little bit of interest there. The colors are there. We have contrast, and speaking about contrast, I'm going to edit this photo because some of the white in this is too white. It's blinding. So if you go and you select your photo, go up to edit photo, and then select adjust, we can adjust some of the settings on this photo itself. So I'm going to turn down the brightness just a little bit so those really white areas are not as bright. And then I'm going to also turn down the contrast just a bit. I want a little bit more shadows, a little bit more black, and then I want to adjust the temperature just to be a tad warmer. So it really brings out the green in those leaves. I think that looks good. So next what I'm going to do is import my product image. So I have these, again, they're all from Printify, and this is actually a client project that I am working on currently, but I figured this would be the perfect opportunity to show you how I essentially Photoshop mock-up images all in Canva. Sometimes, again, I use Procreate, but I feel like Canva for me is just kind of like an all-in-one, and this makes the process of creating mock-ups a lot easier. So once I select my product that I have, it has this white background, but we don't want that. So what you're going to do is go up to edit photo and go to background remover. Now, background remover is only available for Canva Pro users. If you do not have Canva Pro and you would like to try it, you can check the link down below. You have access to a 30-day free trial. Personally, for me, Canva Pro, I use it every day for several different aspects of my business. So for me, the $15 is worth it. But if you want to try it out before you use it, I definitely would try it out. So we have our background removed from our product image, and I want to place it on the table. But if we see here down below, there's a lip essentially on this table. So I want to scoot it back a little bit to where if this was physically sitting on the table, it would not be up against that lip and be a little bit farther back. So I'm just going to scoot it back just a little bit. Okay. And then the thing that is really, really going to make your image stand out, I feel like the thing that's really, really going to make or break your mock-up image is adding shadows. Adding shadows create a much more believable mock-up, because you can see here in this image itself, there's shadows on the vase right here, and there's, you know, the leaves are darker over here than they are over here because of shadows. So adding shadows underneath your product is really going to make this more believable. So let's head back to Elements. And we're going to search for shadows. Now, the ones that I'm going to use, if this was a legitimate picture of this product sitting on a table, where the light is coming from, it would be coming from an angle. So I want to make sure that when I add my shadows, they are doing the same as all the other shadows in the picture. So I'm going to search for rectangle shadow and then go to graphics. I'm looking for a shadow that I can add to the feet of that as well as directly underneath. I think something like this could work. And it's really just playing around, and if you feel like this shadow just doesn't work for you, you can try a different shadow. But again, that was not a pro element, so that's a free element. If you want to distinguish pro versus free elements, you can go to these lines up here and then select free or pro, and that will give you those specific elements. But I like how that shadow looks, so what I'm going to do is position it so it's behind my product, because that's how shadows would work. I want to zoom in just a little bit so we can see what we're doing more. Okay, I think that looks good. Now, if you ever feel like you cannot get a good enough grip on your product or your image, I always like to, hold on, I need to get my, there we go. So let's say I selected this and I just could not get it to where I want it with moving my mouse. You can use the keys, the arrow keys on your keyboard to slightly move this to where you can't necessarily with your mouse. Okay, I feel like that's in a good position, and I want to do the same thing to the other foot right here. So I'm going to duplicate this shadow and just move it over to the other side, and again make sure it's positioned behind the actual product. Now I think that looks good, but because this big plaque is right here, that itself is also going to have a shadow. So I'm going to add a shadow like right underneath that as well. I'm searching now drop shadow and elements, which I think is going to give us a nice option. So this is really big. So what I'm going to do is just shrink it down a little bit and then again move it underneath where my product is. Play with it if you have to. I think right there is going to look really good. So we're going to position it to where it's behind the product itself. And I think that's good. Now, look at how much of a difference that makes. It looks like it's literally sitting on that table. Isn't that cool? I'm going to show you one more and then you can go and practice. So I'm just going to add a page. And for this example, I'm going to do some type of like wall decor. I have these other images I can use. I also have pillows, but I think I'm gonna use one of these wall canvases, because everything else I think I would have to edit first a little bit in Procreate just to manipulate the picture a little bit. So I'm going to select this framed picture, but first let's add a background. So for this, it is itself, the product is a 20-inch by 20-inch square framed canvas print. So when thinking of a background to have it on, I could put it on a shelf or I could put it hanging on a wall. I just have to make sure that when I size it, it is sized appropriately so it looks genuine to what an actual product would look like. So I'm going to search for wall shelf and elements, and again going to photos. I think this would work. I'm just going to enlarge it a little bit so it fits our canvas. Okay, now what I'm going to do is add my photo right here, and then we're going to go to Edit Photo, remove the background, and then enlarge it just, enlarge it just a little bit. Let's still have it, actually I think I might want to have it just to the side a little bit. Okay, oops. There, add this. Just making a few adjustments. Okay. So here, now I've created a little bit more interest with my photo. So I have elements to the bottom and then I have my main product up above. But I want to add a shadow to this product because there's shadows on these little cactus pots down here. So what I'm going to do is search for shadow in elements and make sure that I am on graphics. Now these shadows are fairly light, but I'll show you a trick if the shadows that you find here are too light. So I think I'm going to use this one. I'm just going to shrink it down a little bit, and then I'm going to move it slightly to where it's just hanging over the edge of that photo frame, and then position it behind the photo itself, like that. And then I'm going to duplicate this shadow, turn it 90 degrees, and then add it to the right side of the frame, and again bringing it backwards behind the frame. So here is our final mocked image. Shadows make all the difference. And there's a lot of shadow elements that you can find. So if one doesn't work for you, try it out. And if you're having a hard time figuring out where a shadow might go, maybe find a different mock-up image that has very defined shadows on the products. So you know, like, hey, the light is hitting my products and these little pots from the upper left side, so my shadow should be on the right and a little on the bottom. I feel like adding a shadow to your mock-up images is really going to make a huge difference. And this is specifically more for home decor or non-apparel items. Adding a shadow is going to make a really big difference when creating a more believable mock-up. Here's some of the other ones that I've created for this particular client. So again, I have my drop shadow underneath, and I've also edited this photo a little bit just to match the vibrancy of the product itself. Again with the drop shadow. Here's one where the product is this cutting board, and the background I searched was kitchen counter. And there's actually a product underneath this. I just overlaid my product to where it fit perfectly, and I didn't have to add a shadow as there was already one as a part of the mock-up image. This image I created, I'm still working on it for my client, but the image itself, the product that I incorporated into this flat lay of the wood, is this cutting board, and then I've added these cheese elements and this little knife that has a shadow underneath of it. So there's other ways you can stage a photo as well, and you have to imagine, you know, seeing this as a product photo, it's going to be about this big. So when you enlarge it, you want to make sure that it looks believable. But if you have no other option but to create mock-up images that are photoshopped, I believe Canva is the best way to do that. There's a lot of options and a lot of elements that you can add to your mock-up images to make them look like authentic product photographs. Thanks so much for watching. If you have any questions, make sure to drop them down below. Until then, be a rebel and get practicing. I'd love to see the mock-ups you create. Bye.